I just finished the last of the jump puzzles in the jump puzzle section of the general tab of my achievements in Guild Wars 2. And when I look to the Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, and Guild Wars as the three MMOs within the space that I'm spending my time trying to remain relatively aware of and caught up with to varying degrees, Guild Wars 2 is the new one in the bunch. I've only got a couple hundred hours of playtime. And jump puzzles is something that World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy will tackle from time to time with these little type moments where being able to jump with your character from here to there is kind of nice. But then if those zones allow for flying either then or later, it kind of cheapens that. They have exploratory content, they have open world content, but every 2 years they want to move you to new zones and they let all the old stuff kind of die. And Guild Wars being a lateral progression system, when I make videos like this, I'm usually thinking, okay, well, let's translate this. Let's compare this for people that only have experience with 1, 2, or 3 of these games, and kind of let's put some perspective on this. Maybe they're coming from a different set of games or things like that. But really, jump puzzles is one of those things that makes Guild Wars fairly unique. Compared to Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft, the ability to have on your daily set of lists, here's a bunch of things, and every once in a while it'll throw a jump puzzle on there, and you just got to complete any 3 to kind of get your daily bonus. And having, as you're exploring old zones, sometimes jump puzzles will help you get to things like vistas or diving goggles or all these other cool things. And they range. They range in difficulty from just a couple of easy jumps up to a real pain in the butt. They range in things that make you go very fast, things that make you fight things, which I don't think should be there all the time, but as an occasional thing I think is okay. Times that you're in cities, times you're allowed to use mounts, the vast majority of the time you're not. Times you're allowed to use a glider, the vast majority of the time you're not. It's this really neat exploratory side content just for the sake of it. I didn't get anything at the end. I didn't get a weapon I needed. It doesn't make me more raid ready. I got a treasure chest at the end of each one that had some stuff in it, so there's some general character progression, I guess, but honestly, it wasn't ever required. And for when it's a daily, there are people in the game that have these portals that will kind of jump people to the end so that they can get their completion for their dailies. I didn't use any of those because that wasn't really the point for me, and I think it's easy to complete my dailies with other things that I personally enjoy. I assume people that are doing that are looking for the fastest way to get their dailies complete on 1 or more characters, and so I don't know necessarily why that one jumps out, because I find that, like, if you really just want to complete 3, knocking out your PvP ones or your World v World ones is really quick if you don't mind those modes. But Guild Wars is about, like, only participating in the modes you want. There are a lot of people that play Guild Wars that don't think of it as a PvP game, even though me coming from Guild Wars 1, I think of it, PvP is what I think kind of sets it apart from the other 2 games I'm comparing it to. And so there's definitely times that I feel like the glider makes things easier or harder. I don't, it doesn't let you choose whether or not it's turned on or off. There's definitely times that I think mounts are really helpful, and times that those aren't allowed. And so each puzzle is a little bit of its own thing. Some puzzles there's a mental component. Some puzzles there's some tricks and some traps, and they're messing with you. You have to walk through an invisible wall, or you have to organize things in a certain order. You have to complete several mini jump puzzles to collect parts of a greater whole. There are so many different aspects of it, even where there's a couple jump puzzles within the World v World PvP mode. And those can kind of feel scary, because then if you were to come across another player, they can set off traps, or they could attack you directly. And they have these little chains, and they can screw with you. And so there's all of this exploration there, and it's something that, compared to like having made it to the top of the Kugane jump tower during FanFest this time, I don't know that I would have ever tried that again had I not already really fallen in love with jump puzzles from Guild Wars 2. It's something I've looked forward to logging into, where I've made my last several Friday Guild Wars streams in a row. Let's just do jump puzzles. Right now, the devs are handing out some of the paid DLC for free for logging in every week. And so I log in each week and be like, oh, have you done the DLC this week? Are you going to do the DLC this week? And I'm just saving those. Once they give it to you, you receive it and you have it forever and ever. So I'm logging in, I'm receiving them, that's great. And then I'm setting them aside. And I was just focused on jump puzzles. It became this thing I looked forward to all week. And once I once people started enjoying watching me do them, I started looking forward to it, and I wasn't even doing them off stream. I went a whole week where I was mid jump puzzle and I couldn't even log in to play PvP with my brother, and he's like, do you want to play PvP? And I was like, I do, but I can't because I'm mid jump puzzle and I want to save it because we were all kind of enjoying working through that one together. And it's really neat. It's a lot like clearing story with people watching. They may know where you need to go and offer you a hint or keep their mouth shut. And I really tried to figure this out mostly by myself, as much as is reasonable. On one of the ones that I was allowed to use a mount, I used the rule, okay, you can use a mount to get back to like a big previous checkpoint, because one of the ones in Lion's Arch is really, 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 really long. And so I would back up and and I would jump up with my mount if I fell, and then I would continue progressing. So you kind of get to choose how seriously, how hardcore you want to take these. Because like I said, there's not a big reward locked behind them. It's not like somebody getting carried through the top level stuff is receiving a best in slot item. There isn't anything amazing here. There isn't anything that, it's just doing it to do it. It's just adding depth to the world because they can. I think a lot of them are really fun. Some are zone wide, some are in these isolated little caverns. There's so many different ways to take them, so many different scales, and because they're not serious content, because they're not designed to be balanced for your class or designed to unlock certain loot, they don't have to all be the same difficulty. They don't all have to be doable by all players. They don't have to be something that you can do quickly. Some took me 2 hours the first time. Some were just a couple minutes straight through. And they don't have to be balanced for anything. They don't all feel like they were even designed by the same person. I really, looking back now, having now finished them all, I think jump puzzles are one of those things that make me appreciate the game more. For me, and this may sound weird to some people, in the same way that completing story does. Story is not the driving force of why I play an MMO. If it has great story, that's wonderful, but it doesn't have to be a good MMO in my mind. And even if it does, I don't have to participate in that content to enjoy that MMO. I play MMOs because they are a multiplayer RPG experience, and that's enough for me. And the RPG for me, the role-playing portion of that, is about building out my character, getting gear, overcoming triumph together, beating things. It's about playing my character, not necessarily the character that the narrative makes my avatar out to be. It's not necessarily about being a champion of Azeroth or a warrior of light. It's about being my fantasy character in a fantasy world that I get to go unlock mounts and achievements for and see them grow and level and unlock skills and me master the use of those skills. I've jokingly said on stream before, when I wasn't using an ability, somebody's like, how come you're not using this ability? Your character has that. I was like, I believe that other characters like mine have it, but clearly mine doesn't because I don't have it on the bar. I should have it on the bar, but jokingly, like, my character is mine, and it's my journey. And so I think jump puzzles for me have been something that's really made me go explore other parts of the map, has really made me get used to controlling my character more, get used to knowing some of my other skills because of the way swiftness or whatever the thing is called that kind of makes you able to jump a little bit further. The way you interact with other players who are on a jump puzzle at the same time, especially if you're doing a daily and there's 9 million people there, it feels very different than when I'm off doing a PvP one in a zone that's really old and has been in the game forever and I'm totally alone in the zone. It's an experience that makes me feel closer to the world. It makes me feel closer to Tyria. It makes me feel more invested in Guild Wars 2, even though it really didn't spend a ton of time telling me story. It really didn't answer any of my questions about the monsters I came across or the places I was in, but it developed the world just the same. It made me more connected to that world and made me like the game in a deeper way. Not necessarily that I feel any more fondly about Guild Wars than I did before, or I feel any worse. There are aspects of the jump puzzles that people saw me frustrated. Why would they even do it like this? There were also aspects where I was so excited to have made it to the end. And so it was a mix of good and bad memories, good and bad challenges, things that I felt were balanced appropriate and the reward was worth the frustration, and other times where even after I achieved it and thought, yeah, I still don't like that one. And so it just made the game deeper. And it made the game deeper only for the people that choose to do it. even if it's part of a daily achievement or something you need, there's a way around them. It is something you choose to do for you. It is like minimum item level or sinking down to do old stuff within Final Fantasy XIV, old extremes. It's your choice. It is something that I think World of Warcraft struggles with, is that they make a lot of things not your choice, which makes people forget about the things that are, and the things that are don't get the levels of support of all the things they're too busy building retention systems around. This is an area that I think Guild Wars really shines. The ability to go make lateral content that will feel the exact same for a brand new player 2 years from now as it did when it was first implemented. The fact that I got to enjoy it the same way other people did way before me and way after me. It's content that doesn't have to age. It's content that doesn't have to wear out. And every time they add a jump puzzle, it just makes this system deeper and broader. They get to invest in this at their own pace. And because the game has been around for a while now, they've built up a pretty substantial backlog for new players of jump puzzles they can go explore. I think that for me, jump puzzles are something that will make me be a more loyal fan of the game. It will make me more likely to defend it when somebody that says they don't like it or that they're bored in it or that they didn't find it exciting. It's something that will make me more tolerant of maybe a mistake they make in the future or a miscommunication they have. This is the sort of content, these lateral side moments that I chose to do, and then I was rewarded for the joy of doing it, the intrinsic reward. Not a mount that I needed to have, not an extrinsic shiny thing, not a new item level, these intrinsic rewards. These are the moments that make you defend an MMO. These are the moments that make you loyal to an MMO. These are the moments that when you hear there's something new, draw you back in. Mage Tower within World of Warcraft, these going and completing these odd side challenges that you do within Final Fantasy, leveling up the last of characters to see if you can, going and participating in goofy things like Hildebrand, these optional side things where the system itself is the reward, progressing to the top of Palace of the Dead, not because anything that it gives you is relevant, but because it's there. Can it have cosmetics locked behind it or a title or whatever? Sure. A nice little something. There were treasure chests at each of every one of these, but that wasn't why you were there. People don't do Ultimate in Final Fantasy just for the weapons. There's somebody that do, but plenty of people do it to see if they can. There are people who have already gotten the weapons and they go back and with another group do it again. Things that are truly about the journey. It's something that I think MMOs often lose sight of because it's not the shiny thing on the box. It's not the thing at the top of the Twitch directory. It's not the thing that all the most YouTube videos are viewed for. It's not really clear that that's why we're here, and simply making a game that's all jump puzzles isn't what I'm asking for. But being aware that all of these little things set the tone, they set a guiding light and a guiding set of principles that the game is about having fun. These are the reminders of that. When a seasonal event pops up and it's just fun for the sake of fun. When you do things like jump puzzles or like these little side progression systems where you're just moving up something that gets more difficult or gets different as it goes just because you can. And somebody asks, why are you doing that? I don't know. It's fun, I guess. It's something that really makes me admire what Guild Wars has done, especially with their lateral progression system. It's something that I think it's hard for Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft to keep up with. And it's something that I really appreciate making it to the end of. So, huge thanks to Guild Wars. What a neat experience. There are many jump puzzles in the game. I believe there are ones well outside of that category, because I think I've even done some. So I look forward to finding others and doing future ones. But for now, that category is complete. And I look forward to taking on my next challenge, even if it's not story or gear progression, just having fun for the sake of it. Not something that needs to be there, but just gaming. Kinda.